As I sit in my office at the prestigious Brighton Dental Group, looking at the numerous certificates adorning my walls, I can't help but reflect on the journey that brought me here. My name is Olivia Williams, and this is a story of betrayal, resilience, and ultimately triumph. The contrast between how my parents treated me and my younger sister Victoria was apparent from my earliest memories. Even the photographs in our family album tell the story. Victoria always centered, always glowing, while I lingered in the shadows. I later learned that my parents' marriage had been strained even before we were born. Dad, a struggling marketing executive, and Mom, a former beauty queen turned real estate agent, had different visions for their future. "Maybe having children will bring us closer," Mom had said to her friends, according to Aunt Clara years later. Instead, their complicated dynamic would shape both their marriage and their approach to parenting. Victoria arrived just 11 months after me, and from the moment she came home from the hospital, it was clear she would be the golden child. Perhaps it was because she looked exactly like Mom, with the same delicate features and winning smile. I remember watching from the top of the stairs as Mom would brush Victoria's blonde curls each morning, singing songs and sharing secrets. My own dark, unruly hair was merely pulled into a practical ponytail, usually with a rushed, "You need a haircut, Olivia." The disparity went far beyond physical appearances. Every milestone, every achievement, every moment seemed to revolve around Victoria. My 10th birthday remains etched in my memory, a stark reminder of the inequality that defined our childhood. While Victoria's birthday just 2 months earlier had featured a carnival-themed extravaganza, complete with a bounce house and professional face painters, my celebration was markedly different.
"We're a bit tight on money this month, Olivia, but I made your favorite chocolate cake."
Mom's words still echo in my ears. The cake, as it turned out, was vanilla, Victoria's favorite. What made it even more painful was watching them give Victoria a new iPad the very next week. When I pointed out the disparity, Dad barely looked up from his phone.
"Victoria needs it for her dance classes, sweetheart. Maybe next time."
There was never a next time. There was always a reason why Victoria's needs came first. The most challenging aspect of our daily life revolved around Victoria's severe peanut allergy. Instead of managing her diet separately, my parents enforced a complete peanut ban in our house. Peanut butter sandwiches had been my favorite lunch since kindergarten, but suddenly they were forbidden, not just at home, but even at school. Mom insisted it was too risky to have any trace of peanuts on my clothes or breath around Victoria. One autumn afternoon, while helping Grandma Eleanor bake her famous chocolate chip cookies, I finally voiced my frustration.
"Why do I have to follow Victoria's diet? I don't have any allergies."
Grandma's kitchen was my sanctuary, the one place where I felt truly seen and heard. The warm scent of vanilla and the gentle hum of her ancient mixer created a cocoon of safety. "Your parents think they're protecting Victoria, sweetheart, but they're not seeing how their choices affect you." She measured flour into a bowl, her movements precise and comforting. I watched as she added chocolate chips, allowing me to sneak a few.
"Yesterday, Mom bought Victoria new ballet shoes because she might want to take lessons. But when I asked to join the science club, she said it was too expensive."
Grandma's face tightened, her usually gentle expression hardening. "I spoke with your mother about this just last week, Olivia. I told her she needs to treat you both equally." She sighed, wiping her hands on her flour-dusted apron. "Margaret claims Victoria is more outgoing, more talented. Says you're too introverted, that it's harder to connect with you." The words stung, but they weren't surprising. I'd overheard similar conversations before. My parents discussing how Victoria was the special one, the daughter with all the potential. While Victoria's schedule was packed with dance classes, piano lessons, and art workshops. I spent my afternoons alone in my room, watching life pass by through my window.
Victoria has such natural talent.
Mom would gush at dinner, her eyes shining with pride.
Her dance instructor says she could go professional someday.
Dad would beam while I pushed food around my plate, invisible as always. But Grandma saw me differently. You know, Olivia, I see so much of your grandfather in you. The same quiet intelligence, the same careful way of observing the world. She pulled a worn leather album from her kitchen shelf, something I'd never seen before. Your granddad was a research scientist. Everyone thought he was too quiet, too serious. But he changed lives with his work. As she showed me photographs of Granddad in his laboratory, something stirred inside me, a spark of possibility, a glimpse of a different future. Everything changed when I turned 12. One crisp Saturday morning, Grandma arrived unannounced, her eyes twinkling with barely contained excitement. Get your coat, Olivia. I've enrolled you in the Advanced Young Scientists program at the Metropolitan Science Center. I glanced nervously at Mom, who was busy adjusting Victoria's hair bow for her upcoming dance recital.
Eleanor, we haven't discussed this. Olivia needs to be home to help with Victoria's recital preparations.
Margaret, the program starts today. I've already paid the tuition. The determined set of Grandma's jaw left no room for argument. For once, Mom's protests fell on deaf ears. That program changed my life. From the moment I stepped into Dr. Chen's laboratory, I knew I'd found my place in the world. Unlike my teachers at school who barely noticed me, Dr. Chen saw something special.
Olivia, your hypothesis about water purification methods is fascinating. Have you considered the implications for developing countries?
When I correctly solved a complex chemistry equation in my first week, he high-fived me in front of the whole class. No one had ever celebrated my achievements like that before. At home, Victoria watched these changes with growing unease. She wasn't used to sharing the spotlight, and my newfound confidence clearly bothered her.
Mom, did you know Olivia's spending a lot of time with James from her science program?
Victoria's voice dripped with fake concern one evening. I was in the kitchen doing homework when I heard her speaking to Mom in the living room.
I saw them behind the library yesterday, and last week it was Michael from her debate team.
I rushed into the living room, my heart pounding. That's a lie. I've never.
Victoria wouldn't make this up, Olivia. She's worried about you.
No more going out after 6 p.m.
Dad's voice was firm as he looked up from his newspaper.
And we'll be monitoring your phone calls from now on. It's for your own good.
But what about my science program? My debate team meetings?
You can participate in school activities, but afterward, you come straight home. No exceptions.
As we entered our teen years, Victoria's antagonism grew more pronounced. It wasn't enough for her to control my social life through our parents. She started targeting my belongings and the few friendships I'd managed to maintain. One morning, I found my science fair project completely ruined. The careful research I'd spent weeks compiling was soaked through, the pages stuck together in a wet mess. The next week, my favorite sweater, a birthday gift from Grandma, mysteriously ended up with bleach stains. But Victoria's cruelest act targeted my friendship with Sophie, the one person who had stood by me despite all the rumors. Sophie and I had been close since middle school, bonding over our love of chemistry and terrible reality TV shows.
How could you, Olivia?
Sophie confronted me one day at my locker, her eyes filled with hurt.
Victoria showed me the texts where you make fun of me behind my back. She said you only pretend to be my friend because you need my lab notes.
Sophie, that's insane. I would never say those things. Victoria is lying. But Sophie was already walking away, leaving me standing alone in the hallway. That evening, I confronted Victoria in her room. Why are you doing this? Why do you have to destroy everything good in my life?
You're paranoid, Olivia. Maybe if you stopped obsessing over me and making up stories, you'd have more friends.
Somehow, she always managed to twist things around, making me sound like the unstable one. And our parents never questioned her version of events. Then came Victoria's Sweet 16 party. Mom spent weeks planning it, determined to make it perfect. The house was transformed with crystal lights and silver balloons, and relatives filled every corner of our living room. The cake was Mom's masterpiece. 3 tiers of vanilla buttercream, Victoria's favorite. Everyone gathered around to sing happy birthday, and Victoria beamed as she blew out her candles to enthusiastic applause. But something went terribly wrong. After a few bites of cake, Victoria's face changed. Her hand went to her throat, her eyes widening in panic.
Victoria! Robert, get her EpiPen.
Mom's voice cut through the party chatter, sharp with fear. Dad rushed for Victoria's emergency kit while Mom held Victoria's hand. Gradually, after the injection, Victoria's breathing steadied. The party atmosphere had evaporated instantly, replaced by a heavy tension.
How did peanuts get in the cake? I was so careful with the ingredients.
Mom kept asking, checking and rechecking her recipe card. That's when Victoria spoke up, her voice still raspy from the reaction.
I saw Olivia in the kitchen earlier. She was doing something with the cake.
What? No, I wasn't even near the cake.
Check her backpack. The blue one by the door.
Before I could react, Dad grabbed my backpack. Inside was a small jar of peanut butter, one I'd never seen before, sitting right on top of my notebooks.
She could have died.
Dad's voice boomed through the living room, making me flinch.
What were you thinking, Olivia?
I stood there trembling as accusations flew around me. The jar of peanut butter in Dad's hand might as well have been a smoking gun. Please, you have to believe me. I didn't do this. Victoria sat on the couch, oxygen mask still near her face, but I caught the slight upturn of her lips. She was enjoying this, enjoying watching my world crumble. Our relatives shifted uncomfortably, whispering among themselves. Aunt Patricia pulled her daughter closer, as if I might try to poison her next. Uncle James wouldn't even meet my eyes.
Now wait just a minute.
Grandma's voice cut through the chaos.
Everyone needs to calm down and think about this rationally. Did anyone actually see Olivia do anything to the cake?
Everything is already clear. Olivia, go to your room. We'll deal with this later.
The next 3 days were a nightmare. At home, my parents treated me like I was invisible, leaving rooms when I entered and whispering behind closed doors. At school, word spread quickly. People moved away when I walked down the hallways, as if attempted murder was contagious. After 3 days of this torture, I couldn't take it anymore. I found Victoria alone in her room, scrolling through her phone. You need to tell them the truth. This has gone far enough.
You know what's funny?
Victoria looked up, and her smile sent chills down my spine.
I've been planning this for months. The Sweet 16 party was just perfect timing.
Something snapped inside me. Years of pent-up frustration, anger, and hurt exploded. I lunged at her, grabbing her shoulders. We crashed to the floor, knocking over her designer lamp. The noise brought our parents running. She confessed, I shouted as Dad pulled me off Victoria. She just told me she planned the whole thing. She planted the peanut butter in my backpack.
Stop lying,
Victoria shrieked, crocodile tears already flowing.
See, she's crazy. She attacked me. That's enough.
Mom's voice was ice cold.
Pack your things, Olivia. We can't have you in this house anymore.
No, please. You have to listen.
You're dangerous.
Dad's words cut deep.
We'll call your grandma. Either she picks you up by morning, or we're calling social services."
Grandma arrived at dawn, her vintage Volvo idling in our driveway as I loaded my hastily packed bags into her car. "What you're doing is despicable." Grandma confronted my parents one last time, her voice trembling with anger. "You're choosing to believe a lie over your own daughter. Someday you'll realize what you've done, and it'll be too late." They didn't respond. They just stood in the doorway, Victoria between them, watching as Grandma drove me away from the only home I'd ever known. Living with Grandma was like finally being able to breathe after years of suffocation. Within a month, she had legally adopted me, handled my transfer to Riverside High School, and converted her art studio into my bedroom. "You need more than just academics to heal, sweetheart," she told me one evening, setting up an easel in the sunroom. "Art therapy helped me after your grandfather passed. Maybe it can help you too." Those painting sessions became our ritual. While my hands created abstract swirls of color, my heart began to unravel years of pain. At first, every painting was dark, storms of black and purple. But gradually, hints of light began to appear. I don't know who I am without their hatred defining me. I confessed one day, washing my brushes. "Then it's time to find out." At Riverside High, nobody knew about the birthday party incident or Victoria's lies. I was just the new girl with good grades and a quiet smile. It was in AP Chemistry that I met Hannah, who would become my first real friend since Sophie. "Hey, you're really good at balancing equations. Want to be lab partners?" The simple kindness in her voice almost made me cry. But this time, there was no Victoria to poison our friendship with lies. Through Hannah, I met other students who shared my passion for science. For the first time, I had a real circle of friends who valued me for who I was. "My mom's hosting a study group for the SATs. You should join us, Olivia." I hesitated, old fears surfacing. "I don't want to impose." "Stop that. You're the best at chemistry, and I'm good at English. We help each other. That's what friends do." During one of our study sessions, I met Dr. Martinez, Hannah's mother, who would become another crucial mentor in my life. "You have a natural talent for science, Olivia. Have you considered medical school?" Dr. Martinez was the head of dental surgery at Metropolitan Hospital, and her words planted a seed in my mind. Meanwhile, my art therapy sessions with Grandma continued. The paintings grew brighter, filled with sunrise colors and possibilities. "Look how far you've come, sweetheart," she said one day, looking at my latest canvas, a soaring bird against a golden sky. With support from both Grandma and Dr. Martinez, I threw myself into my studies with renewed passion. Without Victoria's drama and my parents' constant criticism, I flourished. My SAT scores were nearly perfect. When my acceptance letter from Columbia University arrived, Grandma framed it. "Columbia's pre-dental program. I'm so proud of you." Dr. Martinez helped me secure a part-time position at a community dental clinic during college. "Working with underserved communities will teach you more than any textbook." She was right. At the clinic, I met children who'd never seen a dentist before, elderly patients who couldn't afford basic care. "You have such gentle hands," an elderly patient told me one day, and I realized I'd found my calling. I sent my parents an invitation to my college graduation, more out of formality than hope. They didn't respond. But as I accepted my diploma, Grandma's proud tears meant more than their absence. Hannah and her family cheered from the audience, having become my second family. "I've been saving for this since you were 12, Grandma said, showing me her college fund for my dental school tuition. "I always knew you were meant for great things." Dental school was intense but rewarding. I lived in a tiny apartment near campus, worked part-time at a research lab, and studied until my eyes burned. Through it all, Grandma was my rock, listening to my excited phone calls about successful procedures and never once doubting my chosen path. I had no contact with my parents or Victoria during this time. Sometimes I'd see updates about them on social media. Victoria's job at a local boutique, Mom's garden club awards, Dad's bowling league victories. I'd scroll past them quickly, refusing to let their lives intersect with mine. Finally, after years of hard work, I held my dental license in my hands. Brighton Dental Associates, one of the most respected private practices in the city, offered me a position. I posted a photo of my diploma and license on Facebook, adding a simple caption, Dr. Olivia Williams, DDS. Dreams do come true. The response was overwhelming. Old school friends, distant relatives, even my third-grade teacher left congratulatory comments. Aunt Patricia, who had pulled her daughter away from me at that fateful birthday party, wrote, "We're all so proud of you, Olivia." Uncle James posted, "Incredible achievement, kiddo. Your grandfather would have been so proud." During my first year at Brighton, I started a program providing free dental care to underprivileged children. "You're changing lives, you know that?" Hannah told me over coffee one Sunday. Then came the call I'd both dreaded and expected. Mom's number flashed across my screen one quiet Sunday afternoon. "Hello?" My voice was steadier than I felt.
"Olivia, sweetie."
Mom's voice was syrupy sweet, the tone she used to use when asking Victoria's teachers for deadline extensions.
"We saw your announcement about becoming a dentist. We're so proud of you."
I said nothing, waiting.
"We've been thinking about you, your father and I. Well, we'd love to have you over for dinner. Just to catch up as a family."
I shouldn't have agreed. Every instinct told me to decline, but curiosity, or maybe that stubborn part of me that still craved their approval, won out. The next evening, I pulled up to my childhood home in my new BMW. The house looked smaller than I remembered, the paint peeling slightly around the windows. I dressed carefully. Designer blouse, tailored pants, the pearl earrings Grandma had given me for graduation. Armor in its own way.
"Olivia, you look so professional."
Mom moved as if to hug me, then seemed to think better of it.
Come in, come in."
Dad stood awkwardly in the living room. He'd aged more than I expected, his hair completely gray now.
"Hey, kiddo."
"Is Victoria joining us?"
"Oh, no. She's busy tonight."
Mom said quickly, leading me to the dining room.
"I made your favorite, pot roast."
It hadn't been my favorite for years. Dinner was a strange dance of forced smiles and careful questions.
"So, dentistry must be lucrative."
Dad pushed his potatoes around his plate. "I do all right."
"She drives a BMW, Robert. And you mentioned an apartment downtown?"
Mom commented as if I wasn't sitting right there.
"Olivia, we've been having some difficulties."
Mom set down her fork with a rehearsed sigh.
"Your father's company downsized last month, and my arthritis is making it harder to maintain my real estate showings."
"Have you asked Victoria for help?" I interrupted, taking a sip of water.
"Victoria's struggling too. Retail doesn't pay much, and she's barely making ends meet."
I placed my napkin on the table and stood up. "I'm sorry to hear about your situation, but I won't be able to help." The message from Mom came during my lunch break at the clinic the next day.
"We need $50,000, Olivia. Your father and I are about to lose the house. As our daughter, you have an obligation to help us."
A strange calm settled over me as I read her words. Finally, an opportunity. "I'll give you the money on one condition. Publicly admit on social media that I never put peanuts in Victoria's birthday cake. Admit that you threw me out because of her lies. Tell everyone the truth." The typing bubble appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, Mom's response came through.
We can't do that. It would destroy our family's reputation in the community. People would judge us. Surely you understand.
Then you understand that I won't be giving you any money. Surely you understand.
After everything we've done for you.
I turned off my phone and went back to work. 2 hours later, Victoria's message lit up my screen.
You heartless witch. Mom's crying because of you.
Before answering Victoria's call, something made me hit the record button.
They're about to lose everything, and you're playing games.
I'm not playing games. I'm asking for the truth.
Never going to happen, sis. You know why? Because it would hurt me, and they'll never do anything to hurt their precious Victoria.
Her voice took on a sing-song quality that sent chills down my spine.
They've always loved me more, even after I told them about planting that jar in your backpack.
My heart stopped. What do you mean?
Oh, didn't you know? A few months after you left, I told them I planted that peanut butter. They didn't even care. Dad just said it was probably for the best that you were gone anyway.
My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. You admitted it to them?
Of course I did. I was so proud of my plan, I had to tell someone. And guess what? They didn't care. They'll never admit it publicly because it would make me look bad. So you can forget about your little confession demand.
The line went dead. I sat there, staring at my phone, the recording safely saved. After all these years, I finally had proof. With steady hands, I crafted a Facebook post that would change everything. Many of you remember the incident at my sister's Sweet 16 party. The day my parents kicked me out for allegedly trying to harm Victoria with peanuts. For years, I've carried the weight of that false accusation. Today, I'm sharing my story, not out of vengeance, but because the truth deserves to be heard. I detailed everything: the years of favoritism, Victoria's escalating lies, our parents' blind devotion to her. And now I have proof of what really happened that day. Listen to this recent conversation with my sister. Within minutes of posting Victoria's recorded confession, my phone exploded with notifications. Aunt Patricia wrote a lengthy apology. Uncle James called me directly, his voice thick with tears as he expressed his regret. Even Sophie reached out, finally understanding why our friendship had ended so abruptly years ago.
Take that down immediately. You're destroying this family.
You have no right to air our private business.
I'll sue you for recording me without permission.
I responded to them all with the same message. All communications are being recorded and archived. My lawyer has copies of everything. Any threats or harassment will be dealt with legally. Please do not contact me unless it's through proper legal channels. They must have finally realized I wasn't that powerless teenage girl anymore. The messages stopped. The calls ended. A week later, I received an unexpected letter from Mom.
Dear Olivia, I don't expect your forgiveness, but I need you to know how deeply sorry I am. The truth is, we knew. We knew, and we chose to protect Victoria anyway. It was easier than admitting we'd failed as parents. I understand now that in trying to protect one daughter, we destroyed the other.
That evening, Grandma Eleanor came over, carrying a bottle of champagne and a familiar leather photo album. To the truth, she said, pouring us each a glass. And to you, my brave girl. I couldn't have done any of this without you. I told her, fighting back tears. You were the only one who believed in me when everyone else turned away. Look at this. She opened the photo album to a new page. My dental school graduation picture next to my grandfather's old laboratory photo. The same quiet strength, the same determination to help others. You've become everything he hoped for in a grandchild. 6 months later, I received another letter from Mom, this time with a newspaper clipping. Victoria had checked herself into therapy. A year after that, I opened my own practice, specializing in pediatric dentistry. Our waiting room walls showcase children's artwork, and every Friday, we offer free dental care to low-income families. Sometimes, I think about that scared 12-year-old girl, watching life pass by through her bedroom window. I wish I could tell her that the pain she's enduring will shape her into someone stronger, someone who helps others heal. Last week, I received an invitation to speak at Riverside High's Career Day. As I stood at the podium, I saw Grandma in the audience, beaming with pride. Success isn't about proving others wrong, I told the students. It's about proving to yourself that you were right to believe in your own worth. After my speech, a quiet girl approached me, reminding me so much of my younger self. "Do you think someone like me could become a doctor?" she asked hesitantly. "Someone like you can become anything," I told her, meaning every word. Today, my practice continues to grow. Victoria is making progress in therapy, and while we may never be close, we're learning to exist in the same world without hatred. Mom volunteers at my free clinic twice a month, her small way of trying to make amends. Dad still struggles to face me, but he's starting to send birthday cards. And every Sunday, I still paint with Grandma in her sunroom. My latest canvas shows a garden in full bloom, with space for new growth. Sometimes healing comes in unexpected ways. Sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into, but the one we build along the way. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't in proving others wrong, but in proving to yourself that you were worth believing in all along.